So beginning of the first day, we started with the overview of SAP Analytics Cloud. We have seen the different types of options, what are the benefits, and what are the advantages which we have with respect to SAC or other tools, and different types of scenarios like hybrid, cloud, and on-premise. So that was covered in the first part. Then moving on to the next module, we covered how to create a model, what is a model, and what types of connections are there, and we have seen some basic data wrangling operations. So can anyone just give me a quick summary of types of connections, what each type is? Just take one liner or two liner.
Maybe you guys want to say? I want them to answer it. That's
Yeah.
why I'm just
Maybe a clue based on the type we access, whether it's real time, whether it's fast data. Okay,
Yeah.
no worries. So basically, yeah.
I want them, I just want them to answer it in case if they're having teams like no one. Okay. So basically, as far as I remember, I'll tell there are two types of connection. One is the live connection, wherein we don't copy the data to the SAP Cloud. It is directly from the customer database. We do the thing and interact with the customer database directly. And then there is this imported data connection. That is in that we copy the data to the SAP Cloud, and then we do the whatever the reporting calculations, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Thanks, Rajni. So yeah, indeed we have two types, live and import, where one is like you don't copy the data, other one is you can copy the data and do the data transformations. So as you remember the demo which we used, we tried importing in Excel and doing some data wrangling operations. Similarly, you can also do the task. However, data transmissions are available only for import connections, and with respect to live connections, as such, the data and kind of modeling needs to be done from the data source. So we don't have any data transmission specifically for live connections. So that's the reason we have only for import connections. Okay. So I see that Akshi has put it in the chat. So yeah, good.
Yeah.
So the first stuff we will try to create the exercise 2, where is working with models and doing the data wrangling operations. Next part we will start with the heads up with the story design. So as such, exercise 2 and exercise 3 are very critical because this is a pretty much basic thing which we do in Analytics Cloud, which is the creation of models and creation of stories. So feel free to complete and also try out any different scenarios as such. I'll be there to guide you. So I have pasted a link in the chat. So this is created a Google Drive where I have put in the exercise 2 and the data source Excel file which we use for exercise 2. So let me know if you can access it.
Okay.
You guys are able to download the materials?
Yes, I was able to download both the documents
Okay, then we can start with the
going through the exercise 2 and following the steps what is mentioned over there.
Yeah,
I have downloaded.
Okay, I'll be muted. Feel free to ask any questions along if you have added as well.
So, are you able to download the materials and start working on the live exercise 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Statement number 26. Click on the area name option in the geo enrichment. I am unable to find.
So once you create the geo enrichment, this is the one next to actions.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Creating this level hierarchy, and I clicked on level hierarchy, then I named it as location. I guess I did. I by mistake I created on I clicked on this plus, but then now I'm getting that option.
You can rearrange it.
Yeah, you won't be able to change of the name of your hierarchy after the hierarchy is created. Okay, but
I think you need to delete and create. You get the option to delete.
But where can I see that hierarchy? Where does that it created? Okay,
it's here. Yeah, in the actions, you have the hierarchy symbol, right? Click on that, you should be able to see. And also you should see it as a column in the grid view itself. You have these columns, right?
I can see that column as city, which is having that hierarchy step by step and all that.
Yeah.
So okay.
I guess in the grid view, hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
In the grid view, the city has that symbol, that level down symbol for hierarchy, right?
Yes, yes.
Where does actually we have this this kind of geolocation stuff in real time scenario?
Yeah, in real-time scenarios, generally, if you have an organization like an MNC multinational company where you have different locations, so you need to map it. You need to see it in the geo map in the story. So there you can use it. And if you have some certain stores where you kind of need to see it in a pictorial way. So basically, GeoMaps gives us a quicker glance at how our business is performing in different locations. So in story, we will be able to
First, we
add
need
this
to create
GeoMaps.
this column. First, we need to create this column to have the pictorial representation, or how does it?
So it depends. So if you see certain data sources will have latitude and longitude options. So I don't know, if you click on this actions and then GeoMap, if you click on coordinates, you will have latitude and longitude. So by default, certain models, when you create in HANA and based on BW, you will have these coordinates mapped. So then people will readily use it in the story to create geomaps. In case if it is not available, then the system gives us option to map certain columns like country, state, or district.
When I'm
So-
seeing this as a data in the Excel, it doesn't make sense to me. Like it is like, okay, like this is city, this is something which we know, whatever it is created. But if it is pictorially, is it necessary to have the pictorial representation based on this particular column, or we can directly have the pictorial representation?
We can have it, but aesthetically it gives a lot of difference, easier understanding to users. When you want to have, say, there are many ways, like you can use bar chart also, you can use heat maps, different types of charts to directly use city. But if you use geographically, you will be able to see the distribution quicker way. So when we do our exercise, we will plot a geo map. So you can see for the difference, how much difference it is make with compared to bar chart and using geomap. Aesthetically also it looks very good. So there would be many organizations which would require a quick glance geographically how my business is performing across the different regions. So in such cases it's useful. So again, it's subjective. Not everyone is interested in geomap, not everyone is interested in bar chart, but we are just trying to give the user different options where they can model the dashboard also.
Okay.
So one small example could be, in case if you have election commission data, like how much voter percentage has turned out. So if you see these news channels and all, right, I don't know if during the elections, if you see, they would show us how much voting percentage has been turned out for each state, right?
Mhm.
There if you see, the people will be using geomaps.
Okay.
And also if you see the weather, if you want, especially weather conditions, if you want to show, geomaps makes sense, because it will tell us quickly, okay, it's gonna rain, it's gonna be like you have a lot of heat waves going on. Maybe I can quickly also show you some examples here. So in order to plot such graph, you need to have the map, the locations. So in case if you use bar chart, and I don't know, it will not be that much clear to the user, but here you can quickly come to know that, okay, in the western part of the country there is heat wave going on, in the southern part there is rainy season, something like that. So this will give a quick glance and also faster way to get insights. Another one is the election commission, I think.
Yeah.
Electoral percentage, all these are created using analytical tools only. Percentage across India, these type of charts.
Okay.
So if you see these type of things, if you plot in bar chart or heat map, or if you keep it in Excel, I don't know, it might take very lot of effort to understand, but here at least you can you clearly tell me, right, which states BJP has come and which states, right, all the oranges. Yeah, so that gives us, this is, as a tool, this is what we need to achieve. So we need to achieve easier way of understanding and quicker way of providing information to the user who uses the dashboard. So that's one of the use. So in order to do this type, you need to have the geolocation or coordinates, or if you have the columns which maps to states and territories, then we can create it in the story readily. Let me know if you all have completed, then we can move to the next module.
Done.
I am done.
Okay. In the meantime, you guys can create some calculations for this model so that you can explore you click on this FX symbol, you can go to your model and click on rebuild, and you will have option to create calculations. Or if not, you can go ahead and create a connection with your Google Drive just to try out. So I'm telling the video recording and everything is shared with the Spock. TCS Spock.
He has shared with Sayed, like the TCS form.
Yeah.
And then
Okay. Should I ask them to forward it to you, Rajni, or you will get it from Syed?
I'll get in touch with Sayed.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell him that as and when they forward to all of the participants. You guys. Okay. So yeah. So if everybody is done with the exercise 2, then I hope you are familiar with how to create a model and how to do some data wrangling and data modeling with respect to SAC. Then we will go to the most important and interesting part of the SAC as such. So which is the story design, which is the main.
Before we proceed, I have one question.
Yeah.
While refreshing the data with the import data connection, there were two options, update and append. So what was the difference between that? Append will add the new row to the data model, or
yes, append will.
If column is added to the data source, then it will not, append will not work, right?
If a new column is added, it will work. Append will try to add whatever data is there in the data set. Everything it will try to add as new data. As such, if you have something existing, like you have sales A10, for example, say Rajni has some sales 100%, then Shay has 200%. Then if you try to add append, then again, if you have Rajni data, it will not overwrite against Rajni, rather it will create a new row. So you will have 2 rows for Rajni showing 100% sales and 150% sales, something like that. Okay. Whereas update, if it will first check whether it is existing, already the data is existing, or the row is existing for the corresponding name. As such, if it is existing, it will overwrite. For example, Rajni has increased the sales from 100 to 150. So it will go and overwrite and make it the final row as Rajni 150% sales. So necessarily you are avoiding duplication when you click on update. When it is append, it will keep on adding. It just keeps on adding. It doesn't do any other operation.
Okay.
So for example, one example where I can tell append is useful is stock market. Okay. So if you have some shares, so it is something, you should not necessarily overwrite exit data. You should keep on adding new rows, or you should keep on changing the stock, the share market value, or the stock value per day, how much it is per share. So in such scenarios, we don't need to aggregate the data. We don't need to update. We just can keep writing new rows as and when the calendar moves. So in other scenario, for update, you can use like what the regular sales data. For example, at any point of time, you want to see what is the sales done by my sales managers, or at any point of time, you want to know how my business is performing. So for such scenarios, the regular scenarios, update would make sense.
So update will also add the new column if any column is added.
Yes, it will try to update if there is existing. It will try to modify the existing rows. If the rows is not already existing, then it will try to add it. Okay. Then let's move on to the module 3, which is the story design. So basically, if you are familiar with which I said, so anything with respect to creation of dashboard, or the page as such, we call it as a story. So story is similar to dashboard in any other tools. So disclaimer, then what is the agenda? So let us see what is a story. Then what is the different types of views, like story view, data view. What are dimensions, measures? What are the different formatting options? Then what are the guidelines for data visualization? Then in story, what are the pages available? What are the pages, different types of pages? Then quickly we can see how to create story from data sets. So what is a story? Stories are the main part of SAC. It is a center of SAC experience. They are presentation style documents which will use charts, visualizations, text, images, shapes to describe data. So this is where you explore data interactively to find kind of insights and also visualize information with respect to the data available in your model in terms of charts, tables. Then later you can share this, present this, and comment also we have seen in the first exercise, and comment your findings with your colleagues. Then you can consider this story as the main integral part where everything spins out within SAC. So let us also quickly come to know what is the basic things that is available. So in story, there are 2 types of views, like which is a data view and which is a story view. So data view is where you can explore data in real time. and dynamically within the interface itself, we can change the visualizations and kind of interact with the data existing in our data set or data model. Then story view is where you can design interact dashboards within the widget space. So yeah, these are the two types of views. So if you see in the first exercise on the top, while you were saving or creating the story or doing the editing options, you have a story view and data view. So what is the story view? Here you will be able to see all the widgets which you added. In this example, I have added a table. So you can find all the widgets, and finally, how you want to visualize your story, how you want to visualize the charts, diagrams, and tables, shapes, everything we can see in the story view. When it comes to data view, it is clearly useful for person who designs. So for example, you have the data set and you have the data model, and you want to see how it spans out, how each chart spans out. So you can create these charts and you can copy this chart from data view to story view. So basically, data view can considered as data workspace where you interact with data, and story view is where you create the charts and visualizations. Now coming to what are the dimensions and measures. So whichever type of story you create, the key to understanding data lies in measures and dimensions defined within your model. So you need to find out like which can be used as measures, which can be used as dimensions. So in the modeling, we already tried it. So measures is something which is kind of representative, the quantitative data, which provides the meaning to your data. For example, sales, revenue, salary, number of employees. Dimensions represents the categories that provides perspective on your data. For example, like product category, date, location. Dimensions can be used as an attributes that describes the property of a dimension, property of an entity, sorry, not the dimension. Then we move to the formatting options. So whenever you create a chart or any widget, so basically this is the panel which we use to do the styling. So for example, you want to change the background color, you want to change the border, then you want to bring the charts to the front page, or align it with the back page. Then if you want to sort with respect to the boardroom is something which I will discuss in last module, 7th module. Then if you want to change fonts, so basically any styling, aesthetic part of the visualization, you can do it in the styling panel. So you can use the labels, you can do the configuration of legend and all those things. So we will see these options when we do the demo and also exercise. Then coming to different guidelines. So in SAC, we have different types of charts. So we have geomaps, we have the regular chart widgets, then we have the tables, we have value driver trees. When we have pictures, we can add shapes, symbols, then RSS feed, then R visualization. So if you are familiar with this data science, so R and Python are quickly catching up as best coding language for doing the data science with respect to analytics. So R visualizations, if you have the requirement to add R charts, so that is also available in SAC. Then you can add web pages. So if you have certain requirement where you want to show your company's website inside the short story itself, then you can add a web page and host the website, present it. That is also possible. Then comment widgets. So if you want to add comments, then we have the commenting widgets. Then clock to show the time. Then sections. So if you want to specifically divide your page into certain sections, so that is also possible with respect to sections. So these are the main types of widgets which can be used within SAC. So there are certain limitations as such. This is all we can do. Other than this, if you have, for example, if you want to use a Pareto chart, or if you want to use some different type of widgets, like a pointer which shows different ranges, or if you have anything like speedometer type of visualization, all this can be achieved using custom widgets. So for the custom widgets, you need to code it. You need to write your own code and create it. But these are all inbuilt within SAC, these types of widgets. So if you see in the example, some basic examples, like you see this bar chart here, then we have pie chart, then we have stacked bar chart here. Then here, this is called numeric point chart. For example, if you have to show numerically how much total sales happened, this is a quicker way, 209 million. And this is called variance. So it shows us how much the current period variance is, current sales is differing from the previous period, minus 20% in red color. Then this is value driver tree. So value driver tree is specifically useful when you have scenarios like planning. So when you want to plan your revenue, you want to plan to different departments, you want to share the revenue details and do the planning and forecast. So that time you can use value driver tree. Then we have the table widget, so which is typical Excel-like interface where you see rows and columns.
Hey, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
And some users they are very much reluctant to use charts. They are comfortable with tables. So for such users, tables can be helpful. Then some guidelines to create your visualization. First thing is you need to choose the direction, like what you need to create, what is the KPI you want to see. So you want to see sales, you want to see revenue, you want to see salary with respect to employee, you want to see number of hires in your company, you want to see the gender diversity, how many males have been hired, how many females have been hired. So you need to have a case. So what is the direction I need to proceed? Then you need to always keep your charts and widgets in a simpler way, because as a developer, you will be aware of multiple options, but when an end user uses it, you should be aware that he is not well versed with the tool. He just want to get the information quickly, so as quick as possible. So that's why you should keep it as simple as possible. Then reading direction. So you need to also understand that generally we create the charts starting from left to right. So if there is any specific cases, we can change the direction on the business requirement, but you should also go from left to right. That is the better way, better guidelines to start the data visualization. And also you have to have a logical grouping. For example, if you are creating widgets with respect to sales, so it is always good to have sales widgets together, so that when the user is analyzing sales information, he can skim from left to right and finish the analysis. Then next we will go to quantities. Then next we'll go to profits. So you should always have a logical grouping. Not like you create a sales chart and next to that you have a visualization which is showing kind of new hires for a company. So it doesn't make sense. Now coming to the pages. So a story can have multiple pages. So you can have any number of pages as such you want. There is no limitation. So each page you can have any number of widgets. So widgets as in a chart or a table. But as a best practice, SAP suggests keep it within less than 10, because whenever the story loads, you can imagine the amount of data or amount of widgets it pulls. So I think mostly any story can be achieved within 10 pages. 10 pages is very huge as such. More or less whatever we have seen and whatever the project requires, generally within 3 to 4 pages or 5 pages, you can design it. So we can reuse the pages and kind of navigate. So as such, there is no limitation, but a best practice is 10. Then each page can have any number of charts and tables. So generally Google Chrome is preferred browser for SAC. And in Google Chrome, we have 6 parallel threads running. So that is the limitation set by Google. So when you execute something in the browser, a 6 threads can run and it can do the operation with respect to the pages. So that way 6 charts is best combination to be used in a page. You can use more, but there will be slight delay in loading the charts. Then each chart can have one or more data sources. So for example, when you create a table, you can have one model, or you can combine or join the one model with another model and blend the data and then show it in the chart. So that way you can have multiple data sources for each chart. So a data source can be SAC model or a data set. So SAC model we have seen, data set we have seen. So a data source can be either data in SAC, which is the import, or a data in source system acquired via live connection. So these are something which you need to keep in mind while designing story. So typically how the flow is like, you will have the source system file, the data file. Then if it is a live connection, you connect it via SAC. If it is acquired, you create a data set. If it is a live, you create a model. So This is how typical flow look like. Once you have the model, then you can create a story. So coming to the different types of pages. So in a story, you will have two types of pages, which is canvas page and responsive page. And the other one is generally, it's not a type of page, or a kind of a grid format where users can see it in rows and columns. So this is not quite widely used, but in case if you have users who just want a table view like rows and columns, this is preferred. But generally, I would not suggest, because there is no point in using SAC when you want to see Excel formatting again. You can rather use Excel. So that way we have only two options left with canvas and responsive. What is responsive? Responsive lets you create lanes. So what is the useful of responsive pages is you can add widgets either to lanes and you can resize. And the main usefulness of responsive page is it is customized and it is reused in mobile also. So when you create responsive pages, when you open the dashboard in a SAC mobile app, or if you open in an iPad or tablet, the system will automatically resize the resolution and show it. So if you see here, this is the lane. And for example, you made it half of this, the system will try to condense the charts and show it in this existing resolution. So that is why it's called responsive. So when it comes to canvas, it is the quite opposite of responsive. So basically you want pixel perfect representation where you want to define the height of the page, you want to define height, width of the page, and you don't want this to be changed, even though you see in multiple screens. So you have limitations with respect to that, then yeah, the canvas page. So the canvas page is single space where you can add widgets. No matter what browser or screen size you're viewing, widgets will remain in the place and their positions do not adjust in canvas. So this is how a typical canvas page looks like. You will have an option to add charts, geomaps, tables, sections, images. And here you can add lanes and you can create charts and visualizations from the toolbar on the top. So any doubts till now? So then next one is a grid page. As I said, if the users want to have a space where you can create and work with formulas directly with a table, so then you can use grid page. Only table widgets can be used in a grid page. So nothing else can be added. It's just the rows and columns. Now we have seen the page types. Now let us see what are the different elements with respect to options available within a page. So you can add charts in a page, tables, maps. Then we have something called filters. So when you want to restrict or you want to see specific data, then filters is what we use. Then we have drop-down menus. Then we have interactive objects. Then we have pictures. So in case if you want to add some images, yeah, we can add those. So as I said, this is possible only in responsive and canvas page, not in the grid page. Now we will see what it looks like from creating story with respect to the data set. So I hope you are aware that data set is a simple collection of data, usually represented in rows and columns. So when discussing about the module 2 Express, I said that data set is kind of a two-dimensional. You have only rows and columns. You can't have multi-dimensional unlike the SAC models. So mainly data set will be used for your story when you are using smart predicts or when you want to quickly create a story from the scratch. So you don't want to create the model, you want to directly jump into the story and create from the existing data. So then data sets can be useful. So data sets as such can complement models. It is used for quick ad hoc analysis. Then its models are, however, used for governed and controlled use cases. So this is the scenario how it looks when you want to create a data set. So you do the transformation and everything. Just the thing is we can't do the data management. We can't schedule the jobs. We can't kind of reuse or change once the data set is created, unlike the model. So we can transform the data user distribution. Then in SAC, we have two types of data sets which can be used in story. So one is embedded data sets. So wherein you just dragged and drop a file within SAC and you created the story, then the data set is specific to only to the story. You can't reuse that. So whenever the story is deleted, the data set is also gone. So that is the embedded data set. They cannot be shared outside the story or refreshed. Whereas public data sets, you kind of create just how you created the SAC model, you create the standalone data sets and it can be used for different stories. So this is some quick introduction about how a story design would look like. So without any delay, I'll cover the next module also. So in the topic 1, we see what are different types of pages that are available, different types of widgets. So let's go a little deeper into storytelling and what are the options like formatting. So the disclaimer, then in this topic, we can see what is data visualization and conditional formatting, how to use the conditional formatting. So please bear in mind that I quickly go through this because this is more understandable when we do hands-on. So I'll just quickly cover the theory part. Yeah, so we discussed story is a presentation style document which uses charts, visualizations, text, images, etc. So once you create a story or open a story, you can add, edit pages, sections, elements as you like. Then the story toolbar is divided into different categories like file, insert, data, tools, where you can perform different options and tasks efficiently. So I'll show that also in the demo. Then as a owner of the story you have, as you created, you can share with any number of users, and also you can add them as editors or viewers. So you can grant permissions for the stories which you create. Then when you share the stories, you can also define options where user can see whether they want to view the data and analyze by navigate within the stories, or whether they want to consume it only with respect to creating or exporting as PDF, other options. So these things we will also cover as part of demo. Then coming to conditional formatting. So what is conditional formatting? You have scenarios where you want to specifically show, for example, my sales is below 100, you want to show in red color, and if sales is above 100, you show it in green color. So this way the user can quickly understand, okay, which are the areas where I should improve, which are the areas which are underperforming, where I am areas where I can improve, or I can suggest some campaigns to improve the sales. So such scenarios we can use conditional formatting. So you can apply conditional formatting by defining thresholds in a story. You can apply these formatting to all the stories based on models. So there are two types, whether you can create conditional formatting with respect to a model or with respect to a story. So if you use it in a model, then with respect to a model, then you can use it in all the stories where this model is consumed. But when you create thresholds or conditional formatting only with respect to a story, it can't be reused across the story. This is specific to only that particular story. So one small example, like you can define a threshold for revenue of 10 lakhs, so that all the stories based on the model would have revenue threshold of lakhs. So this is how the conditional formatting looks. So for example, you would have seen already the first story where we have this revenue analysis. In gross margin, Nevada it shows red, in Oregon it shows red, then some other, probably California, it is showing green. So you can define what is the range. So for example, you want to have like from 100 to, or from 1000 to below 1000. So you can show it 1000 to below 800 or something. You can show it in OK. Then, let me go from the bottom. So below 800 something, you can show it in red color. Then from 800 to 1000, you can show it in warning color, which is yellow color. So 80 million to 100 million, you can show it in yellow color. Then greater than 100 million, you can show it in green color. So this way the user will be able to quickly get a glance how my business is performing, how the corresponding dimension is showing up. So there are different types, like one is using this bullet point chart, or in tables you can use this, the traffic lights. So basically the red color traffic light, this says that it is wrong. I mean, like it is having issue with the sales, we need to improve. Then orange is like it is okay but not great. Then green is like very good performance. So there are different styling options. So this also we will explore when we create the story. So you can show the values, or you can show only the traffic lights, or you can color the cell itself. Instead of showing the traffic light, we show the value 550 in red, or you can color the background. So different style of formatting is there within SAC. Any doubts in this? So
from my side.
Yeah, sorry?
Not from my side.
Okay. Yeah. So how to define thresholds in a story? To define thresholds, we can choose conditional formatting in the menu, and then you can define the criteria for your formatting, including the color and display options. Once the conditional formatting is defined, we can apply it to the charts and tables, just what we see here. Then you can apply conditional formatting to either a measure, or you can have it as a color definition in the builder panel. So additionally, you can kind of use a table and you can do the threshold formatting there. So showing the traffic lights, etc. So this is a quick topic. Then I will also continue with the next topic. For the interest of understanding, I will cover topic 4 because as such, all the topics with respect to story will be covered. Then we will go to topic 3. So until now, we have seen what are the pages available in story, what are types of pages, then what is the formatting options available. Now let us see some other features with respect to story. So a disclaimer, then the agenda, we will see what are blending calculations, cross calculations, input controls, then what are formulas, and these calculations in detail. Then we have different types of filters like story filter, component filter, linked analysis, geo visualization. Then we can see geo maps. So in stories, we have the option to blend data. What is blending? So for example, you want to create stories with visualizations using data from different multiple models and data source. So that is called blending. So blending models enable you to join data from a primary data source with a secondary data source that contains certain common link dimensions. So for example, if you want to blend data from corporate data source with respect to data residing from a local spreadsheet or Excel, and you want to mix it, join it with a public model, which is a private model derived from a data integration within a story. So you created a data set from a story itself, and you have a public data file, and you created a model. Then you want to blend these two in a story, then you can do that within a story. Blending can be done within individual tables or charts. Then some common use cases where we use blending. So if you want to compare data of actuals from a corporate SAP source with a plan to connect with a non-SAP source, and then that in such scenarios you can use blending. Then if you want to compare sales results within the markets or marketing campaigns available in CSV, or you want to join with data provided by a third-party consulting firm, then you can use such scenarios, blending. Then if you want to create custom calculations based on KPIs from different models like public census data or electoral data, which is available with respect to different organizations, government organizations, then such scenarios you can use blending. And in case if you want to combine the smart predicts output predictions in a data set and blend in with the predictions available in other data sources in the context of the story, then in such scenarios also blending can be useful. Then moving on to next component, which is formulae. Formulae, as the name suggests, most of you would be knowing. If you want to perform calculations on either constant values or members within a dimension, then you can use it. You can use formulas. So formulas are designed to use in models or other pages where you can use in tables, you can use in charts, you can use in other widgets. So within the stories, you can use formulae. Then in modeler, when you are creating account dimension also, you have an option to kind of design new formulae. So in the modeler itself, irrespective of creating in story or not, you can create in the model itself. So you have an editor, separate editor. So this looks like this, the formula editor. So you can click on that FX icon in the story where we can write the formula and you can define what type of aggregation or exception aggregation it should happen. Then you can also use arithmetic operations to create formulae. So typically this looks like this. So you can have summation or you can write some custom formulae that you want to do. Then similar to formulae, you have calculations. So apart from mathematical operations, you want to apply calculations with respect to account and cross dimensions. Then you can use calculation editor. For each type of calculation, a new calculated or restricted member is created. So we will see what is calculated measure and restricted measure. So you can also display the calculation in a table by using account dimension or cross calculation dimension to the table, or by selecting it in the filter. So there are two types of calculations. One is calculated measure and another one is restricted measure. So in a chart, calculations are based on measures generally. So when you want to create a calculation, by default we use measures because that is the quantifiable part of the story. So in a calculated measure, you define or you create a calculation on one or more members within the account dimension and also cross calculation dimension. A new calculated member is created as a result. So typically, what example we can say, you have sales and you want to define average sales. So you can use this sales in the account dimension, so which is a measure, and you can write a formula that number of sales by total number of accounts existing. So that way you can create average sales. Then coming to restricted measure, a restricted measure is useful when you want to restrict data from a member of either account dimension or cross calculation. So this way you can exclude certain members from one dimension So for example, if you pick sales with respect to markets, you want to show European sales as a separate measure. You don't want to show any other market. So that way you can restrict the measure with respect to the location Europe. So this way you can also create multiple measures, so which is useful. For example, you have a user base where users are from European region and you don't want them to see the overall aggregated sales measure, rather you want to give them only European sales. So that way you can create a restricted measure where you restrict the sales with respect to the location. Yeah, other examples also could be like date. So if you want to have year to date calculations or previous quarter to date, month to date, such calculations, then you can use restricted measures. So in such cases, we will restrict the date dimension. So apart from created calculator measures and restricted measures, other type of calculation is difference from, where you calculate the difference between two values, between two dates. So we can use difference from. Then you have option also to have currency conversion. So this is mainly useful when you have planning models. So you have certain data which is in USD and a user from India has opened the dashboards and you have to show it in INR. So you can use currency conversion there. So all these currency conversions has to be maintained in a table in order to do the conversion. There's the same thing. You have different types of calculations like rolling forecast currency. Then cross calculations. If you want to use cross calculations when you have two measures, then you can also do that within the story itself. Then yeah, we completed the calculations part. Next is input controls. What is input control? Input control, we can consider it as a filter. So if you have used Tableau or Power BI, you have used filters. I would have used filters. So similar to that, in SAC, we call it as input controls. So when you create a story, you want certain information to be readily accessible, but not necessarily displayed all times. So then input control can be used. So they allow you to filter data, compare figures, explore relationships. Essentially, input controls allows you to optimize space on your dashboard and condense a lot of storytelling potential cleanly and concisely. So why we need to use input controls? So example, you have 100 million rows and you have different regions, Europe, Asia. You don't need to show all the data. You show a table which default shows Europe, and you can give an input control to the user where he can change Europe to Asia. Then when he changes Asia, the table below reflects the data within that specific selected filter. So this way you can concisely design your story, saving the space and also less confusion to the user, and also quickly he can gain the insights. So when you have large amount of data, it's by default best practice to use input controls. So in input controls, there are two types. One is dimension input control, other one is measure input control. So as the name suggests, if you want to filter dimensions, then we use dimension input control. Then if you want to filter measures, then we use measure input control.
One question, can we take it as a parameter also, or parameter is a different option in SAC? I have one question. These input controls we can treat as a parameter as well, or parameter is a different option in SAC?
What do you mean by parameter as such?
For example, like I want to find out the top 10 regions where the sale was on a higher side, okay. But I wanted to give user the control whether he wants to look for the top 10, top 15 or top 20. So he should be able to enter the value 10, 15, 20.
No, that is not input controls. That is ranking in SAC. So when you want to rank specific to measure, then that is called ranking. So whatever you said, input control is something like, you have in our example, we have city, right? City column where we have different cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco. So you want to show the user or give the user an ability to change these values, and specifically you want to see the dashboard when he changes something. So in such scenarios, when you want to do some filtering, then input controls is the option to use.
Okay.
So yeah, it's direct mapping to the filters. But whenever you want to do some top 10 analysis, then it is called ranking.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, quickly moving on. So input controls, as I said, dimension input control, measure input control. So whenever you add input control, it is specific to a page. So beyond the page, it will not be useful. Like you have, created a location input control in the first page, and if you move on to second page, you will not be able to use this input control. So it is only specific to the page. However, in case if you want to create something like filtering option with respect to the whole of the story, then story filter is the option. So as the name suggests, you can control all the pages within the story. So in the top bar, we can add the story filters here. And yeah, this is how you kind of select the values. So once you add a story filter, it will be reusable and it will filter all the pages within the story. Then yeah, I'm covering here different types of filters. So one is story filter, then other one is the chart filter. So story filters are specific to dimensions and it applies to all components, whereas the chart filter, you will be only able to apply hard-coded to the specific chart itself. This can be said as like widget filter. So chart filter or widget filter. So when you select a particular chart and then you go to the builder panel and you filter it, so this part of filtering happens only for this chart. It is not applicable to other charts. Then we have component filter. So this is something like when the user it is mainly useful for the users who use the dashboard. So when the user runs the story, he will be able to see different bar charts or different line charts, pie charts, and he wants to runtime select something, not the story filter, not the chart filter, but he wants to just select. For example, in this example, there is a sales manager called Janet Burry. So he wants to see specific to sales how much she has done. So then the user can click on this. When he clicks on this particular option comes up where he can filter only this particular sales manager. So this is component filter. Yeah, there are different types of formatting options for the filters also. This can be achieved by clicking on this option here. So that's the screenshot here. Yeah, I already covered component filters. So this is different types of filters. Any doubts till now? I will anyway show it in the demo, but theory part, any doubts? Or is it clear? What is story filter? What is chart filter? Then what is the component filters other than the input control?
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
Input control can also be called as page filters. And moving on, we have linked analysis. So
like I have one more question. Like there are story filters, okay, but that story have 10 pages, okay. But I want to apply a filter like that is applicable to only 5 pages out of 10 pages. So what option would be the best for that?
We don't have any option like that as of now, customizing.
Okay.
So yeah, by default in SAC story, you have option to filter all the pages or not. Other option is to add each filter in page. However, if you have requirement that you want to filter only 5 pages in 10 pages, 5 pages out of 10 pages, then you have to go for analytical application. If you remember in the introduction, I said that there are some things which you cannot achieve in story. When you have like pop-ups or when you have some custom requirements which is not achievable in story, then we move to analytical application. In analytical application, you can select code which pages I want to filter.
Okay. So for that, we need to do some coding, right?
Yes. Coding is there and also some options also is there. Nowadays, SAP is trying to come out graphical interface also, where you can select the types of pages, number of pages the filter should apply on.
Thank you.
So the conclusion is we can't do that in story. We can do it in analytical application.
Okay.
Yeah. Then coming to linked analysis. So what is linked analysis? So you have scenario where you define the source and you activate linked analysis. So for example, you have 5 charts. Let me go to example. Yeah. Okay. Let me use this example. So here in this example, you have region and you have gross margin per product category. So in some use case where you want to use this region graph to control all other charts. So when you, or let me select this one. So you have gross margin per product category and gross margin per date. And you want to use this chart as an interface to control all the other charts. So when you click on bottom where, what happens is all the charts should show only data for bottom where, or when you click on sweater, it should show only for sweaters. So that way, the option available in SAC is linked analysis. So what you can do is you can define what happens when I click on something in this chart, whether it should filter all the charts, or whether it should filter only this chart, or whether it should filter this chart and gross margin per date and gross revenue per date chart. You can define such analysis. So that component is called linked analysis, where you can select whether when I click on something in this chart, it should show only for this chart or entire story or only certain number of charts. So that part is called linked analysis. We will see that also in the demo. So you can decide whether it has to be included or excluded. All those options are available. Then moving on to the next one, GeoMap. So as clearly mentioned in the modeling class, so when you have to show data with respect to your geographical distribution, then we can create geomaps. So SAC offers visualizations of data on a world map. To use the map, we need to enhance the data model with geo dimensions. How we can do that? You can also use local models using manual upload, or you can use SAC models using live connection. So in SAP BW or SAP HANA, you have options to add location like latitude and longitude, or you can manually add it in your Excel file upload. So this screen we have already seen. So while we were modeling the data model, we have seen this geo enrichment, where you can select latitude and longitude. Then geomaps are created in the model using location dimension. Then this acts as a foundation. So there are two ways where you can enrich data, which is by coordinates and by area name. Then we have different flavors within GeoMap. So you have bubble map, where you have dots showing all over the screen in the GeoMap. Then you have heat maps. So this is useful when you want to visualize the data density. So mainly when you have scenarios like you need to show weather forecast, how much heat is there in particular region, how much rainfall has occurred. So such scenarios, heat maps is useful. Then you have choropleth layer. So this is applicable when you want to use hierarchies. So you have United States, and when you go one level down, you have California, then different states. So if you go one more level down, you have different cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco. So in some scenarios, you can use choropleth. So it will apply blocks of shading within the different geographical locations. In our example, we can use choropleth and bubble layer. Then next one is point of interest. So when you have options to pin, like you have a pin option to show certain location, then you can select point of interest layer. Then we have feature layer. For example, you have different data set coming from external party. So you can use that data set. For that, you can use this feature layer. Then you have flow layer if you want to show connection between two locations. So if you see the flight, I think most of you would have used option to track flight, right? From where each flight is going. Suppose your friends, relatives are going in the flight, you want to track the status of the flight. Then you will see a line passing from the destination to the source to the destination. So that thing is called flow layer. So you will see a point A to point B, the flight is moving. So such maps is called flow maps. So typically this is how the GeoMap screen would look like. So you have this interface where you have this builder panel. So this is the GeoMap. In this example, you see this choropleth layer, which is the shading of the region. So you have seen the Russia, China, then India. Then here we can define what dimension you use. So whenever you define a certain dimension in the modeler, only that particular dimension can be used for location. If you don't have any location enabled dimension, you cannot create a GeoMap. As simple as that. Then we can define colors and everything. I'm just skimming through because anyway I will show it in the demo. Then yeah, there are different customizations with the type of map. Street view map. This is the Google Street Map. Then you can have satellite map where you can see the greenery like trees, live traffic, all those. Then yeah, different terrains and oceans, all those maps. I mean, it depends on which flavor the end user wants, or if your dashboard is completely black, then it is good to use light gray or dark gray. Then if you are using something like green, if you are creating dashboards for environmental company, then it's good to use satellite maps. Yeah, it depends on the end user. So any doubts till now? So if not, then let me quickly go to the interesting part where I will show you how to create a story. So yeah, typically this is how the home screen looks. So in order to create a story, then we click on this navigation bar. then click on stories. So as mentioned, there are different types of options to start with. You can start with a responsive page or a canvas page or a grid or from a smart discovery. This one I will cover in topic 5, module 5. Then you also have templates. For example, you have black template and you have this report dashboard. These are available by default. SAP gives it. So what is the advantage is if you click on this reports, by default, SAP has kind of put lanes or sections. You can reuse them and you can design from there itself. You don't need to put the lanes like rows and the different sections if you want to use this black theme. So that is also available. So you see here, SAP has kind of put a basic overview how a typical dashboard would look. You have a geo map, you have a numeric chart. You can directly start creating from here. Let me do the first responsive, blank one. So I click on responsive. So what is responsive? It is mobile friendly. So whenever you use in different screens, the system will automatically adjust. So in the story design interface, these are the options. So we have the story view and we have the data view. So data view, if you want to see the data. So for example, we created a model. So let me use that Superstore data model. So here you have the measures. Then I click on this show dimension. I can select particular dimensions or all dimensions. So what is advantage is here the system will help you to design the charts. So I click on, I want to see sales by area. If you select these two, the system will automatically suggest which chart is good. So bar chart is good for now. So it's, if you see here, it will tell auto suggested. However, you have option to change it again. So I want to go to other types. Like I want to go to a heat map. Yeah. Or let me select a pie chart. Okay. So this is what it is. So here you can kind of do some data analysis with respect to data existing in my data source. And from here only I can copy. So copy this or copy to a new responsive page or copy to page 1. So this in the story view, you can see that story is copied. Sorry, the chart is copied. So you can use this data panel to create your charts. Or if you are already familiar with the types of dimensions and rows which is existing, then you can come here. So here in insert, you have option to insert a chart. So this is the builder panel, so which is the designer. So you can close and open. So designer. So in builder panel, you define the the dimension, rows, and what is the filters, what is the colors. Then alternative to that is styling panel, where you define the styles, like what the font should look like, what the borders, background, everything. So let me create a small chart. So let me use sales itself, sales per segment. Okay, this is very basic stories which we are building. So yeah, compared to different types of solutions available in market, SAC has only these types of charts. So when you click on this comparison, we have bar chart, then column chart, stacked column chart, then stacked bar column chart, then waterfall chart. Then if you want to do some trend analysis, you have line chart, stacked area chart, line chart, then time series. Then if you want to have distribution, then you have block, box plot, heat map, histogram, radar, tree map. So by default, when you select some chart and when you have selected some dimensions, SAC suggests that certain charts are not useful within the context. So you have only selected one measure and one dimension. So radar map is not possible. So it will be grayed out. Then yeah, these also are grayed out because it might require more dimensions. So cluster bubble or bubble scatter plot. Then if you want to have bullet point chart or numeric point chart, then if you want to have donut pie chart, then this is the options. So let me go ahead and change this to line chart. Okay, this is how it looks. Then let me add one more chart. So by default, I didn't select anything, so everything is grayed out. However, I can click on it, heat map. So in heat map, we need at least one dimension required. So I want to see sales with respect to shipping mode. So what is the advantage of heat map? So you can see here, it shows, different color, different distribution. So you can click on this, show hide legend. So if it is increasing, it is dark blue. If it is decreasing, then it's light blue. Okay. So that is how you create charts from the insert option. Then we can insert a table. So yeah, typically table rows and columns. So we can select what row I should have. I will select maybe segment, then shipping mode, category, then city. Let me select something with hierarchy. Then in the account dimension, I can select measures. So I click on this filter. So I select sales, quantity, discount, profit, or let me remove discount, sales, quantity, profit. So this is the tabular form. So what is the advantage of responsive is like whenever you move to certain chart or widget, it will kind of readjust. So if you see here, we have enabled hierarchy, right, for our city. So you can also expand this hierarchy. By default, it is United States, all United States. Then in United States, we have selected regions. Then in central region, we have states. In states, we have cities. So that is a hierarchical way. So you can disable the hierarchy also. So I go to designer panel, I go to city, I click on this 3 dots. You have an option to have hierarchy. So I have selected the location hierarchy which we created in the model. So rather I will select flat presentation. So then it will show only the city. So this is how you create a table. Then let us save this story. So you have option to save here. So by default, when you start creating a story, you will be in edit mode. Okay. So alternate to that is view mode where you can't edit. So basically, if you want to see how the story looks to my end user or the dashboard user, so this is, you can click on view mode and you can see how it looks, look and feel. I come back to the edit mode. So let me go by one. Now let's start with the file options. So in file options, you have the story details. So here is where you define the details, like you can add some description. This is the first story. Something you can add description. Then here by default it is pointed out to the story. This is a catalog which is useful whenever. So for example, if you run the SAC, so you have a tile here, right? For example, in favorites. So when the user clicks on this tile, what information you want to show, so that you can define here all the information, what the story is, what the page is about, how to use the story, all the instructions you can define here. So I just give some basic description. That is the story details. Then we have preferences. So here you can define the story preferences. For example, you want all the elements in the story to have a certain template. Like I should only use, say for example, on the whole story, I have to use only this font, 72 web, and maybe color as white or blue. Then you can define it, and if you click on OK, it will apply to, for example, now the option is to apply to new pages. You can change it and you can put it to all pages and lane. So all the elements in the story will have only 72 web as the font. So in a central way, if you want to define, you can do it here. Alternate to that is you go to the each story and custom do the styling. Okay, so that is the preferences. Then we have option to have query settings. So in case if you are using HANA and BW data sources and you want to save the performance, so you can do the query batching. What will happen is all the queries will be kind of batched together and triggered to the database at a time. Rather than single query running each time, it will trigger in batches. So that is available for BW and HANA itself now. So that is the query settings. Then Smart Insight settings, yeah, it's not covered now. I'll cover it part of augmented analytics. Then we have the new mode which SAP is designing currently, optimized design mode. So this is something new. As such, it's not covered in this training, but this is something advanced. So I'm not going to touch this here. Then we have save options. Save to save the story, and you have save as in order to, you don't want to save this story, you don't want to overwrite, however you want to create a copy, so you have option to save as. So you can do the save as. Then you can save as template. So if you see earlier in the start screen, we have seen black theme, black template, and other templates which SAP has provided. If you want to create your own template, you can also save the story as template. Let me do that to show you how it looks. So test story template. Let me save this. I'll go back. So yeah, this is my template. So if you see here, I added a pie chart. I used a heat map and line chart. So you see the outlines here, and I use the table. So the user can reuse. So basically, this is useful when you want to have standard template across your organization. You want this template only to be used in the whole company. Then you can define different templates and save it. Let me go back. I hope you are comfortable, right, with the pace I'm going. Is it too fast or too slow? Let me know.
Fine.
Yeah, so that is save options. Okay. So next one is export. So export is useful when you want to export the story as PDF. You have users who are not in SAC, maybe the executive users or some kind of third-party companies who are helping you with, coming up with visualizations, but they don't have access to SAC. Then you can export the current story as PDF. So you can have options like PDF, PowerPoint, Google Slides. Then you can define all the pages, or you want to specifically export only certain range. And if you want to enable export in the background, insert appendix. And if you have filters, you want to export batch by batch using the story filter, then this is the option. So let me quickly export one small PDF with only the first page. So this will download a PDF to your local machine. Yeah. So appendix gives information about which model I have used, and for each model, for each chart, what dimension and measure I have used. So that is the export option. Okay. Then optimized view mode, again, this is something SAP is working on currently. As I said, this is a cloud product. Every 2 weeks there is new features. So this is also not the scope of training, but you can explore it. Then we have copy options. So this is useful when you want to copy and paste this chart, or copy to a new page, or duplicate. So copy to a new responsive page. Okay, that is the copy options. Then we have share options. So since this is trial and you don't have different users in this system, you can't share it. But however, in your regular SAC, you have multiple users, then you can share and you give the username of that particular user, and the story will be saved to him, will be shared to him. So if you remember, in the home screen, we have shared with me, right? So your story will show up here. So that is the file options. Then we have data options here. So here we have data refresh. So this is like grayed out. This is for importing data. It is useful when you have data sets. Then if you want to refresh your story now, you can click on refresh. It will bring the current data. Alternatively, you can also trigger auto refresh. So I can tell for every 5 seconds, please refresh. Okay, minimum is 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, refresh. So whenever the user is running the story, every 30 seconds will refresh data. Yeah, please bear in mind, when you refresh using auto refresh, there is some load on the server, because you are continuously sending requests to the server, which might impact the performance and load on the server. So that is the auto refresh. Then we have prompts. So for example, in case if you have variables in your model, so you can use this option to link the variables between two models. So when you are using two models and you have different variables, then you can use this link variable options. Then we have link dimensions. So in case if you have two models which need to be blended in your story, then you can select first model and you can select second model. Let me show one small example. So here another same data, but I am using Google Drive. So this model, I will add it here. So here I can, map the linkage. For example, let me come from bottom, subcategory to subcategory, shipping mode to shipping mode, date to date. Yeah, you can create the linkage. What is the advantage is, in case you want to create filters, if you create on one dimension in a first model and you filter, automatically the second model, whichever is mapped with the corresponding dimension, will also be filtered. So this is the advantage when you link dimensions with respect to models. So that is the link dimensions feature here. Then we have formatting options. So if you want to have different layouts, like at some point of time I want to change my layout from the regular page one to having different 3-lane layout. Let me click that. So it will change the layout. Okay, let me demo this. Okay, some bug, I guess. Okay, no problem. So this is the formatting options. Then let me refresh. That way I have a copy. So any changes, if you don't save, yeah, it will not be saved. And if you reload, it's gone. Okay, so that is the option. Then yeah, what I was telling, I was showing, just a second. Yeah, format options. So the next option is device preview. So if you want to see how my dashboard will look when I open in mobile or when I want to open in tablet, then if you click on this device preview, it will give you a simulation of how it looks. So by default here, if you see, device is browser and the size is laptop. I can go ahead and change it to the iOS app, mobile app. Then this is how it looks. Okay. As I said, we have designed using responsive. So that's why if you see, the system will automatically change the resolution to fit the mobile screen. So this is how it would look. You can select the sizes, large phone, small phone. You can check how it looks. Then this is tablet. Then if I want to see Android, yeah, tablet, same thing. So that is the advantage of using device preview. Then next one is the comment mode, which you have already tried out in the first exercise. So I'll skip that. Then next one is examine. So examine is something like you want to see what data is there in this chart in a Excel format. Okay. So I click on this chart and this is what I have data like area with respect to sales. So that is the examine mode. You can export as CSV and you can copy, paste, everything. Then we have something called Explorer View mode. So this is useful when you have data analysis. So I click on this Explorer View mode. So to have that, we need to enable it. So we can enable it here, Explorer, in the designer panel, or in the notification itself, we have option. So what is the advantage of Explorer mode is we can do the data exploration as such here. So you can save this as a separate view, which can be reused. So for example, next time when you want to see the story, you want to view this Explorer View mode, and you want to see the specific view where we have sales per shipping mode, you can save it, or you can create a new view. Okay, default view or new view. You can save this with different name per ship mode. Okay, then save it. Okay, next time if you refresh, so click on view mode, and if you see here, I have Explorer View available. So here I can switch between original default view or the view which I created. You can create any number of views and share it with, whenever any user uses it, he will also be able to see it, and he can also use those examine mode or explorer mode.